it's Dale here. Today I'm back on a new little theme, or expanding on a theme, but I'm doing something on Margaret Olley. Margaret Olley is one of my favourite, or probably is my favourite Australian artist. If you're from overseas or out and you haven't heard of Margaret Olley, look her up on Google and see all about her. And if you're lucky enough to go to Tweed in Queensland, New South Wales border, you can go to her, the town. She's just so many wonderful, a lot of still lives and fantastic art. And I guess one of the reasons why I like her so much is because there's a good picture here of her working area, and apparently she doesn't do waste of time with housework or anything like that, because it's far more important to be doing art. And I was just reading about the reconstructed cottage of hers at Tweed, and they even brought the cobwebs down from Sydney, where she lived. So, you know, that's a lady after all of our hearts. But anyway, some time ago I did some work with one of her paintings, and it was the calendulas one. And I took those flowers, and some people may remember that, and I did quite a bit of work with it and so on, using the colours and the backgrounds and stitching and whatnot. And I ended up with a piece to semi-creating these calendulas. And to make that very textured fabric, I used my embellisher, which I'll show you. But right now, I've moved on to something else of hers. And this is a basket of calendulas, and that's the basket of flowers. I reversed it, and that's the reverse. And then I did an image transfer with it. That's the image, which is pretty good. I'm pleased with how it turned out. And I'm going to hand stitch it. So I've got a large collection of stranded thread here, and nearly all painters and some of my own, and I'm working only one strand, so I'm going to play with that. But in the meantime, I've also started doing some colour picking and painting and things like that. So that's the painting. It's not actually in that book, but I want to, I should have another image here. So I blew it up much bigger to try and just to get the flowers and to get some of those textures of the flowers. I'm going to create some fluffy scissors. Now I could do that with hand stitch or machine stitch, but I thought I would just create something with my embellishing machine, which I haven't used for a little wee while. And so, oops, daisy, I'll find for that. And so, you know, if you haven't, there are still a lot of these lying around, and I know lots of people have got them and don't use them. You know, it's just needles, and they push things together, so it's basically sort of smashing or crunching stuff into it. But I've got layers of gauze, scrim, hand-dyed, whatever, scrim, and I've pile them up. So I've got about about 6 or 7 there, and I've used various colours just to try and get these oranges and the yellows. And this is what I've done a long time ago, and you'll see if you layer up, put several layers, the more layers the better. And in fact, if I go this way, no I won't, and so I've got about 10 layers in here, just to show when you punch through from the back how you get, and it's something I'm always harking on about, the wonderful texture, because the fibres, the loose, scrim's fairly loose, so the fibres just whack through. Now you can do this with hand needle crafting, but it's just a jolly sight slower. And if you're still coveting, like if you've got one of these machines in the cupboard, it's high time you get it out and start to play with it. And if you haven't, they're around. I know there's lots of people who've got them hidden away and happily get rid of them if they weren't using them. So I'll just play with this one here. And this is, see how much texture you get when it comes through from the bottom. It's just wonderful. You won't get this sort of thing any other way. The only other way you can get this type of texture is when I put a loose bobbin into my sewing machine, very loose, don't link it up to everything, and then you've got a sort of shambles, what people would think was a shambles, but you get this wonderful texture coming through. So, and it's just a matter of working those fibres, those top ones, and the number of colours that you have in there will determine what happens. Now I'm only working on the one side, because I don't want it to come back to this side. So this would be what I would use, and I'd cut up those bits and pieces. Now this is what I've got for my calendulas, is oranges. I've taken various things. I don't want the purple at all, and then I just start pushing it through from the back. And of course mine won't end up being a perfect oranges or perfect yellow at this stage because I'm combining the colours. I could just do lots of yellows, or I could just do lots of orange, but I'll hand stitch into them as well. So just another way to get a fantastic texture. And then I'll just turn it over and let's see what's happening. I don't like stitching in the bobbin upside down very much because I like to see what I'm doing, but in this case, can you see how it's starting to come through? So you could get, you could cut out your shapes and use what you want, but keep going and getting more and more of that orange, and it's going to end up being something highly suitable for stitching some of these flowers. So that's part of what I'm doing at the moment. So I hope that's just given you a few little brain ideas for today, and I'll see you again another time. Bye-bye.